Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Skiera, aka Stations Guy, and my guest on today's show is the CoolGeek M1 music frame, which is basically a transparent CD player. And since we're talking geek, this is why I have my little propeller beanie hat on, because back in the day, I think it was the 50s or 60s, this was a universal symbol for you were a geek if you wore one of these, in addition to probably being completely insane for going out in public wearing something like this. And I've got my Svengoolie shirt on, so I think that kind of adds to the geekiness. But this is a little bit of a different purchase for me. It was done through Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding platform. If you're not familiar with them, they have people which they call creators or companies that go on there and they have an idea for something, typically a physical thing, a product, but they don't really have the seed money to get going with it. So they go on this platform and they ask you, donors, contributors, to contribute to this project that they're embarking on. And in return, usually you get some type of a physical reward. And in this case, it was a CD player, but it's not guaranteed. Kickstarter goes out of their way to let you know this is not a store. You're not buying anything. You're making an investment, and there's a possibility you could lose all of your investment. It's kind of like investing in stocks. The company developing this product could go out of business before they ship their rewards to their backers. They could run out of money. They could end up jacking up the price from what they said it was originally going to be. They could eliminate certain features. They might say it could take them 6 to 8 months to get this to you, and that turns out to be 3 years. I mean, there's all kinds of things that could go wrong, including losing your entire investment. And there really isn't much you can do about it. It's the risk you take. In return, you usually get a substantial discount on the product for accepting that risk. And CDs have experienced a bit of I would say, a revival over the last few years, not to the extent that vinyl records and turntables have. That's really kind of exploded. CDs are definitely not on that level, but there seems to be more people being interested in them. I've always been interested in them since they first came out. I still have CDs. I still listen to them. I still buy them. I think it's a great format. It doesn't have that smooth, analog, warm sound of a vinyl record, but I just like them. I think they're great, and I don't have a bazillion of them, but I have a lot of them. So I saw this product on Kickstarter. I was just browsing around, looking at things, and this came up, and I thought, well, this looks very interesting. It's a very, unique kind of a design, and this is it here. And you can see why they call it a music frame. It's a CD player, kind of, framed, and it's got acrylic, so you can see completely through. On the back, you can see the boards too, the back of the boards. There's a rechargeable battery right here. They have these little legs that you can put in back, so you can, tilt it back on a table, or I guess you could leave it straight, but it might tip over. They also include some of these, what would you call them, sawtooth hangers, so you could hang it on a wall like a frame. But I was very kind of captivated by this design. I thought this is very unique. Now, there are certainly other CD players, typically small and portable, which I guess technically it's portable. It's got a battery, but I can't see someone walking around with this thing outside. And there tend to be plastic that are see-through, that you can play a disc and see the disc playing. There are a number of these on the internet of various prices. I think probably the more famous and maybe one of the first, if not the first, was put out by B&O, Bang& Olufsen, put out this really big, long thing. And you could put like 5 or 6 CDs in there, and it wasn't technically see-through. You could see the CDs, but you couldn't see like the PCBs and the hardware and so on. And you could wall mount it. You could mount it horizontally, or I think I don't know if it came with a stand or you could buy the stand separately, but you could also stand it up vertically on a stand. Definitely something people would notice when they walked into your living room. It was quite a statement. Very, very expensive. So that's probably one of the best known ones where you could see something going on there. Um, and there's also Chinese company called Shanling. They make a portable. It's not really see-through, but the novel thing about theirs is it contains vacuum tubes. So that's interesting, and it's portable. So there's all kinds of stuff out there. You can go crazy and research it and check it all out. But there's nothing, I can assure you, at least as of the time that I'm recording this video, there's nothing like this. It's really very unique and interesting. And I thought, okay, I'm going to take a chance on this. I forget what exactly I paid. I think it was around $128, I believe. And they're retailing now for $159. And so before I get into all the ins and outs of this and positives and negatives, I think I'm going to try and play something for you. I can't play audio because I'll be arrested by the copyright police, but just to demonstrate this thing in motion, so to speak. So I have a disc here. It's like I say, you're not going to be able to hear it, but just for your information, it's smooth jazz. It's Bob James and Dave Kaz, Just Us. Came out within the last month or two. I actually got an autographed version. I thought maybe this design might show up kind of interestingly as it spins on the CD player. So you just snap this in place like you would if you had a portable CD player. You just stick it over the hub, like so. And then it has built-in Bluetooth. So I have a Bluetooth speaker here. Like I say, unfortunately, I can't play anything for you. It comes with a remote, a really cheesy, thin, cheap Chinese remote, which also is see-through on the back. But it gets the job done. It's got, most of the features on here you need. So I'm going to turn this on, or attempt to turn it on. The battery's been fully charged. So the display lights up. It's rotating. It's reading table of contents. You can see that blue light. That's the Bluetooth. The Bluetooth is on automatically. I think it's on all the time. I'm not sure you can shut it off. So it's searching for a Bluetooth speaker. The display shows the track, the time, and the battery level. Don't know how well you can see that. Not a very big display, not quite so easy to see. This battery is removable and replaceable, which is very nice. So I guess you can imagine this thing, sitting on your table, on your sideboard or buffet table, or hanging on your wall, whatever. And you can have it this way as well if you prefer, although it'll be a little more difficult for the display to be read. So I think what I'll do is pair and connect it to this heavy-duty Bluetooth speaker and just turn down, just so you can see that it's going to pair and connect. So if you heard that or not. It's now paired and connected to this Bluetooth speaker. Okay. So it paired and connected pretty easily. No issues there. I'm just going to let this kind of spin in the background as I talk about it. Where to begin? So one thing, it comes with a external battery charger, which is kind of annoying. It would have been nice if they built in the charger in here so you didn't have to take the battery out, put it in here, charge it, put the battery back in. And if this had come with a power supply and the built-in charger, you could just plug it in and charge up the battery. That would have been really convenient. Not sure why they did that. Maybe it was a cost decision or something. This looks pretty cheap and cheesy, so maybe it was just easier to toss in one of these and call it a day. Not sure. As I said, it comes with the legs if you want to stand it up at an angle. It comes with the sawtooth hangers. Comes with this cheesy remote. What else? This is the box here. So fairly good stuff. The box. Nothing special about it. It's Bluetooth 5.0 if you're into specs. The thing that is a bit inconvenient on this is extracting the CD. So if you've got a disc in there, um, these, you tend to kind of want to grab the side of the plexiglass thing here. It would have been good if, again, these had kind of been recessed or in a little bit more, so it would be easier to grab the disc. When you grab the disc, you're also kind of grabbing the plexiglass at the same time, so it's a bit difficult to get a hold of the disc. You're trying to get a hold of the disc and push this tab in the middle to get the disc out. It's not really convenient because the plexiglass panel is in the way. So had they made that a little slimmer, or put like little half round cutouts so you can actually grab the sides of the disc, that would have made a lot more sense, but they didn't do that. Just to go through quickly some of the features, you got power, you got pair for the Bluetooth, you've got volume up and down, you've got A/B, which I assume is repeat, you've got track back and ahead, and you've got play pause. So, you're basically your sort of major controls that you'd be concerned with. It doesn't show CD text. I do believe it plays CDR and CDRW discs. The Bluetooth is just the standard, whatever it is, A2D codec. It doesn't do aptX. It doesn't do AAC. It has memory, so if you play a disc and let's say you stop it at track 12 and you remove the disc and then later you put the disc back on, it will pick up from track 12. I've never been a big fan of that. I know a lot of people like it. I just wish it would just play the disc from track 1 all the time, but I know there are a lot of people who like the memory feature, so it's got that. This looks like it just takes a standard battery. I can't read the number on here, but it looks like it's just, one of those standard button cell batteries on the remote. Would have been nice if the remote had been a little bit nicer. I mean, especially if you're going to have this sitting on a table, a sideboard, or, whatever, and you got the remote right next to it. This kind of takes away quite a bit from the aesthetic appeal of it. And again, I would have paid another, whatever, $1 or $2 or $3 to have a nicer remote, and these buttons, sometimes with these kind of remotes, a lot of times these buttons end up failing. So if you use this often, which you probably will because it's not the most convenient to get at the controls that are in there, at some point you may need to replace that. One thing that was promoted in the video and on the campaign for this on Kickstarter was that it was going to come with a acrylic window that would drop through this slot here. There's a top slot. So you would manually slide it in to kind of complete the artistic frame impression of it, and also to prevent dust and whatever from getting in there. And also something I found is it's a bit noisy. It's not outrageous, but I can hear it even from here. And normally, this would be enclosed in a CD player. So having that acrylic shield helps to mute some of the noise as well. But at the very end of the campaign, after they started shipping, they made an announcement to all their backers that they weren't going to be including the acrylic shield because they said something about it was causing damage during shipping or something like that. So they eliminated it. And they had already started shipping to people. They told us it about 2 months after they made the decision to remove it, which I think is not very transparent or professional. I think they were just hesitant. They knew people were not going to be happy and there was going to be a lot of pushback. So I think they just delayed it. And finally, when people were going to start receiving them and realizing it wasn't in there, they had to say something. So they did. And in fact, in the user manual here, there's absolutely no mention of the acrylic cover. It's not listed in the contents. It's not listed showing how to do it. There's no description about it. So they knew well in advance they were not going to include it, even though they had promoted it and it was in their videos. And yet they waited to tell people. And now they're selling it separately on their website for $29. So I, along with others, complained about this on their forum and said, hey, you guys, you need to do the right thing and ship these to your backers separately. Or at minimum, give us a credit, because we paid for this as part of the project. Now we're not getting it. But the other thing too is I don't have the shipping carton, but the shipping carton had space in it. It had enough space to just slide in that acrylic cover. You could put it in a bubble envelope and put the clear protective wrap on it, whatever. It would have fit in there fine. So they could have put it in there afterwards and it wouldn't have affected anything in terms of shipping damage. But they didn't do that. They just basically gave the middle finger to all their backers and said, no, we're not including it. And if you want one, you have to buy it. So, on and on about how it makes it look nice and keeps the dust out. All of a sudden, you don't need it. Oh, don't worry about it. You don't need it. So what I did was I went on Amazon and I bought one. I think the size is called A4, I believe. And unfortunately, you can't just buy one. They have a 2-pack. And so this is one of them here. And this cost $8 for the two of them, plus free shipping if you're a Prime member. So $4 for one, which is amazing considering, like I said, CoolGeek is charging $29 for one. But this, to me, is just a hokey solution. I've mentioned this before so this is a Chinese factory, Chinese company that came up with this design and put their name on it and sells it. And that's fine. Lots of Chinese factories do that. That's great. You have an interesting idea for something. You put it out there. Fine. But the problem is you have a small team, typically of people, maybe an engineer, maybe the guy who came up with this idea, the designer, sitting in a room making these decisions on how this thing is going to look and work. And there's no outside influence. There's no outside comments or suggestions or feedback. You just have these people operating in a vacuum, making these decisions that are not always the right decisions and are sometimes real head scratches. Like, what? Who thought of this? Why did they come up with this? Now, one of the audio companies I used to work at as a product manager, what we would do is we would take a prototype or several prototypes and we would ship them to our top dealers or distributors, the ones that had the most sales. And we would ask for their feedback privately, quietly, confidentially, because we didn't want it getting out there that we were working on some new product. And these guys are on the front lines. They're selling this stuff. They know audio. They're selling some of the competition. They know what their buyers like, what features they want. So this was incredibly valuable feedback for free. I mean, all it cost us was to ship them the sample and then pay to ship it back. But these guys don't do that. They don't have dealers and distributors and salespeople because they're just a factory selling these things direct. But this kind of thing, like this, I call it like a guillotine, a see-through guillotine thing. This just doesn't make any sense to me. So you put it in like this on this slot, slide it down, and every time you want to use it, you got to pull this thing up and out. Now, had it been me, I would have suggested they have maybe some small hinges on the side, and that this would open up kind of like a window or a medicine cabinet, something like that. That would be more of an elegant solution and much easier to work with. Or maybe have if it's going to be a separate plexiglass shield, have like standoffs and magnets. So you just stick it in there and it stays using the magnets. Have maybe slight curves on the side to get your fingers in there. Pull it out when you want to put a CD in, put it back in. It'd be a lot simpler than this thing. I ended up getting some clear, sort of like clear tape. Maybe you can see it sticking up here to make it easier to pull it in and out. Because if you don't have that, what you're forced to do is push against this and push it up. So now you're getting your fingerprints all over it. And also there's, some tolerance there. So when you push against it to push it up, a lot of times, now in this case, it is coming up, but a lot of times it doesn't want to come up. It's pushing against the MDF inside and it's stuck. So you're pushing and it's not going anywhere. It's just, to me, a really nonsensical solution. And if for some reason they were just stuck on this and this is what they wanted to do, then I think what they really should have done was just put a simple recess here, like a finger cutout. So a portion of the acrylic would stick out and you could grab onto it with your fingers and pull it out. But once again, when you're operating in a vacuum, you don't think of these things, or you don't care, or you don't think it's important, or whatever. So anyway, just my 2 cents on this. But if you buy one of these and you want the acrylic window, go on Amazon and search for acrylic A4. I'll probably put a link for this in my description as well as the acrylic window. The other thing that's kind of interesting and disappointing at the same time, if you look in the owner's manual, which by the way, it starts off in Chinese, not English. But if you look at the user manual, there is a in addition to Bluetooth, there's a 3.5 millimeter stereo output, so you could hook up audio from this to like powered speakers that have an audio input to drive powered speakers if you wanted, or maybe to a stereo system, whatever. But it says here, I just want to read this from the owner's manual because it's curious wording. Wired connection. Plug the audio cable into the 3.5 millimeter audio port. Now, first of all, they don't include an audio cable, which I think they should have, because they talk about it like it's included. It's not. Then it says, in order to maintain the beauty and integrity of the overall frame, the jack position is set relatively compactly. It is recommended to use a 3.5 millimeter elbow cable or elbow adapter, which is another reason why they should have included the cable, because, most 3.5 millimeter cables are just the straight on type, which is what I have here. This is a very, very long 3.5 millimeter cable. And this jack here is impossible to get into the 3.5 millimeter jack on the unit. It's too long. It doesn't fit. You have to have a 90-degree connector to get it in there. So that's really annoying. And the fact they didn't include one is annoying. But what's even more annoying, and maybe I'm dense, maybe I haven't been able to figure this out, and I'm sure you folks will call me on this if I'm missing something, but let's say you connect into this 3.5 millimeter jack right here, right? You got the 90-degree adapter. The cable comes down here, and you're going to connect it to your powered speakers or your stereo system or whatever. Okay. Now what do you do with the cable? Where does it go? There's no cutout on the side. There's no opening on the back. There's no opening on the top. There's no opening anywhere. So what do you do with the cable? If you don't have the window in place, then the cable just, I guess, is kind of dangling out there. And if you do have the window in place, it's only going to go down so far, and then it's going to stop on the cable. So it's going to look terrible no matter what you do. Again, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe there's some opening or secret trap door or something, but I don't see anything here that accommodates the cable. So they're trying to preserve the elegance and the integrity and the look of this artistic frame by recessing this jack, but then they completely ruin the aesthetics, totally destroy the aesthetics by not having some kind of accommodation, some kind of cable management or something. There's nothing. It's just mind-boggling. Once again, people in a vacuum sitting at a desk making these decisions that make no sense. But overall, having completely destroyed the product now, overall, I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. You just can't get anything like this from anybody else. It's cool. It's a conversation piece. Somebody walks into your house and you've got this tilted on a table or hung on the wall. It's going to stop people in their tracks. They're going to be like, oh, wow, what's that? That's cool. So it's fun. It's cool. Yeah, they made a bunch of mistakes. And in their forum, they say, oh, well, thanks for the feedback. We'll consider that for version 2. Well, thanks a lot. I don't want to have to go out and buy version 2. So that's the other thing is they go so far down the line with the production of this that when somebody comes up with a good idea, it's too late. The design is frozen. The boards are done. Everything's ready to go. They just need to go into mass production and ship it to their customers. So it's too late to make any kind of significant changes. One other disappointing thing I'll mention, this coating here is a vinyl wrap. It's a textured vinyl wrap, which you can get in black or white. It looks okay, but it feels, and I think it looks a bit cheesy. I was hoping and had wrongly assumed that would have been painted a matte black or a matte white, because typically if you have a picture frame, it's painted black or white or whatever color. It's not usually vinyl. And it just kind of cheapens the overall effect. Now, of course, painting would have cost more, but what? $2, $3 more? This is done in China, so it would have been cheap. I would have gladly paid $2 more to get a painted finish instead of vinyl. I would have gladly paid a few dollars more to get a built-in charger. I would have gladly paid a few dollars more to have a properly positioned 3.5 millimeter jack and a hole that you can bring the cable out that doesn't scream to everybody, "Hey, I'm a cable, here I am." But that was not an option. If there is a version 2, some of those things will probably be in there. And those of us who bought version 1 get screwed. But that's the way Kickstarter works. That's the way it is. You jump on board on something. You're an early adopter, early supporter, and you end up with something that is very imperfect, but it's still cool. It's still fun. It's still good to have. I'm glad that I did it. And this company, this CoolGeek company, by the way, they make other things. They have a sort of small portable CD player. I think it's got a radio in it. They have a sort of end table that has a Bluetooth speaker built into it. They have a turntable where the record actually stands up vertically, so you can see the whole record spinning. So they do some cool stuff, and they're probably still learning. But I just think they really dropped the ball on some of the features on here, and they really kind of screw their customers over with eliminating that acrylic window. I understand you don't want to do something that might cause damage during shipping, but there were workarounds they could have done or given a partial refund. They didn't do that. Their communication, by the way, was absolutely abhorrent, terrible. They would go weeks and weeks and weeks, maybe a month or more, without giving any kind of updates, without responding to comments. Really terrible. I mean, very disrespectful, very unprofessional. And for the people like myself who have said, "Hey, you need to do your customers right with this acrylic window thing," they've ignored those comments completely. They don't even respond to them. So they're not even admitting that they messed up, that they should have communicated it earlier to their customers. So, not the greatest experience. I've had better experiences on projects that I've backed on Kickstarter, but it's part of the process. That's part of the deal. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's show. This is the kind of thing that I do. Retro, geeky. And I'll be back again in a few weeks with something else for you. Check out my other videos. Please share, like, and subscribe. I'm trying to boost my subscribe numbers. It's really important to get more, to be able to access more features and things, and hopefully maybe at some point actually get a sponsor. Ooh, that would be nice, so that I'm not paying for all this stuff out of my own pocket, full boat. That would be great. Anyway, so yeah, that's the show. We'll see you again soon. Please be kind to each other. Thanks so very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Stations Guy.